Hey everyone, it's Fun Chief again. Welcome to another edition of Alliance Match training series where fortune favors the prepared mind. Next in the lesson series is spreadsheets, which I know is probably highly controversial because many of the alliances, especially in the top tier alliances, uses spreadsheets to make sure that their build plans are actually going to be viable with the available resources they have and so on. Very closely guarded secret by many of the especially top tier alliances. So I am a little bit of a radical because I'm going to share with you what we do with our spreadsheet. So I'm not going to, hey, here's my spreadsheet and here's all my build plans. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm explaining is why spreadsheets are important and how you might go about approaching building your own spreadsheet and refining it. It takes time to build these things and refine them and make them so they're useful to you. Frankly, if I just gave you my spreadsheet, it probably wouldn't make any sense to most people. So I'll walk through kind of the design criteria in the next three lessons, and show you how we did it, how we split the hairs, so to speak. And you should be able to take this information and turn it into something meaningful that you can build your own spreadsheets with. So first up, lesson 9, spreadsheets build plan. And the intent here is to walk through the costs of the infrastructure necessary to build your build plan, the costs associated with the research necessary to build your build plan, and then finally the costs associated with building the units to support your build plan. So without further ado, let's get into it a little bit. And I know this is kind of an eyesore here, but again, I'm only really trying to just introduce you and dip your big toe into this gigantic swimming pool of information. Um, the idea here is that you have a couple of build plans in mind well before you start the match, and it will allow you to create a kind of a spreadsheet to see what's available or what's viable, and make adjustments based on the enemy intel that is revealed to you in the game especially during the 7 days of the typical 7 day of peace truce period. But um, there's a whole lot of detail here. So in this particular build plan, there's infrastructure, research, and units, like I said in the intro. And infrastructure, we came out and said, all right, this is what we want to do in the order that we want to do it. And you can kind of figure out based on the build time of any one of these things, how long is it going to take to build these things. So for example, it only takes 1 minute to build Army Base Level 1. And so in the first day, we're going to build Army Base Level 1 on all 7 of our cities. That's what this shows right here, right? And then there's 30 minutes to build a recruiting center level 1. So we're going to do that in all 7 of our cities. And then I'm going to build an industry level 1 on all 7 of our cities. So again, all of this is happening all in day 1. So it's going to be a gigantic sucking noise of resources that it's going to take to build all of this stuff, but easily done in all of day 1. And still starting in day 1, but probably not finishing, is Army Base number 2 in all cities. So all of this is day 1 builds. Now, the way this works is I got this little code system in here. So AB1, Army Base 1, RC1, Recruiting Center 1, Industry, IND 1, AB2, all right? All of these little codes, what I did is I built into the spreadsheet the ability to look and count anything that had, for example, Army Base 1, would automatically count that up. Anything in this column, in the Saturday column, day 1, it would count that up. So if you look, you could see the code that I'm using is count if anything between the top of this column and the bottom of this column, and then in parentheses or in quotations you put what you're looking for. So if it says AB1, count it. So there's 7 AB1s here, so you see it returns the total as 7. And that matters because what I did is I took each of these supplies, components, fuel, electronics, dollars, and rares. What is the cost to build one level 1 army base? And whatever that cost is for each of these things times 7 is this number. Okay? And that's how it's done. So the next thing is under here, we do it for day 2, day 3, day 4, And Army base is just one thing. I got to also do it for recruiting center and industries, um, and so on. So you can see how this calculates everything automatically, what the actual costs are going to be in terms of supplies, components, fuel, electronics, and dollar. And rares, because once you get to level 4, it starts using rares too for Army Base 1. So I tally all that up by day for each of these things. So in this case, this is all of Army Base 1, and there's another one below this for industry and for recruiting centers and so forth. And the costs by day are all tallied up here, right? The total number of supplies and components and so on I need for each of these things by day is tallied up. And that gives me, for a day by day, what my infrastructure costs are going to be. And I do this for each, you could do this for each build that you're going to do, or another way of thinking of it for each country and what they decide to do. I did this based on build. And then I can assign it to a country. It doesn't really make a difference what country I assign it to at that point. Now, research. All right, here we say, okay, well, this is the research plan, infantry level 1. We're only doing that because we want the infantry officer. So infantry level 1, MAV up to level 4, so we continue to research those until they get to level 4. We really want them to be there at war start, so I put that note in there. Infantry officer level 1, well, that was enabled by this level 1 here. This MAV level 1 is your first start, and that's just a really quick research, of course. And then Meggers working up towards level 3. Tank destroyers, the only reason I'm researching this is because I want a tank commander, and so you got to have something in that research tree and that armor research tree in order to enable the tank commander. So we research the tank destroyers. Occasionally you build them too to plus up your hit points or so on, but for this particular build plan, the only reason we're doing it is to enable the tank commander. MRLs up to level 4 and tank commander level 4. And so the plan would look something like this on day 1 would be MI for motorized infantry, level 1, MAVs, that's mobile anti-air vehicles, level 1, IOs, infantry officer, level 1, and the Megger, that's mobile ground radar, level 1. All of that is going to be done on day 1. And then day 2, we figure out what we want to do, and day 3, and day 4, and so on. And so I use the same technique that I used over here for the Army bases, where I count up based on the codes that I gave. So in this case, it's like level 1 MAVs. When do I research that? So anywhere there's a level 1 MAV in day 1, boom, there it is. It gives me a return. Okay. For level 2 MAV, when do I want to do that? Level 2 MAV on day 5, so it gives a return here on day 5, and day 6 and day 7 and day 8. So you can see the entire research tree for MAV is listed here, and each of these research levels have unique supplies, rare, and dollar costs for just this research now. Those are returned in here, and then every one of these different research trees are represented by a table like this. So there'd be one for MAV, one for infantry officer, one for Megger, etc. And then once all that's done, you just tally it all up to equal, hey, this is what the cost is by day for research. And then finally, the last thing here is the units, right? So we've sat down and figure out, what sequencing do we want to build these units in? So first round are MAVs. MAVs are going to be able to be built almost right away, right? As soon as you can, you want to start cranking those out. Second round, we'll make Meggers plus an infantry officer, so we'll have 6 rounds of Meggers and an infantry officer. Third round, 7 more MAVs, and the tank commander isn't ready yet, but for sure by the 4th round, we'll have a tank commander being built with 6 MRLs. Once you can start building MRLs, you continue to build them throughout, and then the oddball will fill in with MAVs, or you can even build more Meggers if you wanted, or whatever else you decided. And so you map all that out like this, use that same technique, count if, and for each of the levels that you're talking about building, times 1 equals this much. And you do the same exact thing. You tally up what the cost is going to be for day. So what I end up with was a build plan that I can communicate out to my team, and what the cost is going to be for the infrastructure necessary to support that, the research necessary to support that, and what units by type and how many I want to build on any given day. And that gives me, by looking at across all of these things, I'm going to be able to understand what the total costs are going to be. So we'll get into that next. Next we're going to talk about the spreadsheet resources. That's the other end of the spectrum. So far with lesson 9, we're talking about what the costs are. Lesson 10, we're going to get into how do you calculate out what your resource production is. And ultimately, you're going to get to the third lesson, lesson 11. That lesson is going to be comparing what you say that you need in order to support your bill plan versus what you think you're going to be able to get in terms of your resources. And when you compare those two, you're going to have a delta in there somewhere, and it'll tell you if your bill plan's filed or not. All right, with that, this is Fun Chief out, and I'll be back here shortly with lesson number 11, or 10, excuse me.